We continue in our broadcast of this business forum, Cuba 2021. Now we welcome the Minister of Energy and Mining, Livan Arronte Cruz, and some executives of companies with energy projects. They will be speaking about renewable sources of energy in Cuba and business opportunities. Thank you. Well, esteemed participants in this panel on renewable sources of energy at this second business forum, Cuba 2021, I have been joined in this important panel by Comrade Rosel Guerra Campaña, the Director of Renewable Sources of Energy of the Ministry of Energy and Mining, Comrade Didier Esteves Guerrero, Vice President of the Sugar Group as Cuba, Gustavo Carbonell Martinez, Head of the Energy Division of the Agroforestry Department of the Ministry of Agriculture. Also with us here in this panel, Jose Antonio Vila Fernandez, the General Manager of the joint venture Minera del Caribe and Ferronickel SA. He will speak about the experience these two very important joint ventures have had and the projections for the installation of renewable sources of energy and the energy consumption of these two important factories. Also with us online, we have Mr. Andrew McDonald, the president of the joint venture Biopower SA. They are in charge of two important investments in Cuba using renewable sources of energy. One of them is the biopower station Ciro Redondo and Mariel Solar in Mariel. Also with us, also online, Mr. Remer Kumar, Director of Projects and Program of the International Solar Alliance. Cuba is a member of. This is an important and prestigious institution. And also online, Mr. Grupar from the Power Company of India, an important power company in India, the one that manages electricity in that country, NTPC. To begin with this panel discussion, we would like to begin by saying that the energy transition to renewable sources of energy is a national security aspect with a great impact on the economic and social development of our country. The main problem that we face to achieve our goals have two dimensions. First, the high cost of power generation in our country, given the high dependence on fossil fuels. 95% of power generation in our country at present is being done using fossil fuels, and the generation matrix with which we generate power in Cuba has a very high impact on environmental pollution. In the face of this problem, the strategic solution that we have developed to introduce in our country is to see to it that 100% of power in our country is generated using renewable sources of energy in a combination between energy saving and energy efficiency to contribute to meet our goals for the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal number 17. As from 2014, we have been working on the development of renewable sources of energy, and this has become a top priority for our government. That is to transform the energy matrix in our country using more renewable sources of energy to reduce our dependence from fossil fuels and to increase environmental protection. Our policy intends to achieve 37% of generation using renewable sources of energy by the year 2030, with the participation of sugarcane biomass, forestry biomass, photovoltaic energy, eolic energy, and hydropower station, so that we can resort to 100% of generation using renewable sources of energy. The main technological potential potential envisaged by our country are in biopower station, 612 megawatts in 17 projects. One of them is operating, which is the one produced by Ciro Redondo, contributing 62 megawatts to the main grid. There are 4 projects going through investment procedures, and there are another 430 megawatts available to be developed through joint investment projects. There is a huge potential in our sugar industries, and Comrade Didier will further elaborate on that. Regarding eolic energy or wind energy, our intention is to achieve 1,800 megawatts. At present, we have 13 projects with 807 megawatts that are being produced by several foreign companies with credits. 1,000 megawatts have been identified for potential projects in Cuba. As you can see here in the screen, the potential in this field is above 34% of the installed air generator. There is a huge potential in the northern and eastern region of our country, and also in the center and western region of our country. We have studied that together with the Weather Institute of our country, and there is also a set of measurements validated by foreign companies of up to 100 meters high generators. So we have reached to the conclusion that we have a huge potential for wind energy. In the case of the photovoltaic energy, we must say that the biggest potential are in the solar and photovoltaic energy sources. We intend to achieve 11,000 megawatts in this modality. Today, Cuba has 238 megawatts. We must say that we are arranging for another amount of megawatts with a series of companies. This is being under consideration at present, and we have the opportunity of more than 8,000 megawatts. These are opportunities to build photovoltaic farms. There is also an important potential for solar energy. And vis-a-vis this project, we also have the projects for accumulation. There is a broad potential to install batteries in different areas of the country for us, that will enable us to meet the goal of transforming the energy matrix using 100% renewable sources. To meet these goals, our country has been conferring different fiscal incentives for projects using renewable sources of energy. One of them is that we exempt tax payment on profits for a period of 8 years after the beginning of the project, as long as the feasibility studies goals are met. And once these benefits are in place, we apply a 20% tax for the payment of profit taxes. I mean, after this period, there are also benefits whereby custom tariffs are not charged for the import of machinery, equipment, and construction implements. All of these are benefits granted by our country to projects for the construction of non-renewable energy sources. Now I will give the floor to Rosel Campaña, Director for Renewable Energies in our ministry, to deal with other aspects related to wind energy and solar energy in our country, as well as the potential that we have for attracting investors. Thank you very much. Good morning. I would like to add some information to our Minister Livan's explanation. We would like to say that in addition to the investments that have already been concluded in our country, adding up a power of 350 megawatts, we have other projects under construction for a total of 3,525 24 megawatts. We have foreign credits which are being already operational for another 6 projects for a total of 317 megawatts. And we have 8 electrical union projects whose capacities have already been created with a power that will total 745 megawatts. As for the rest of the project, we have distributed these at different financing levels. Some of them are still under negotiation. This is an important amount of clean energy that will become operational in the next few years. I will like to summarize the results that we intend to achieve through the implementation of this program. As was explained by our minister, the main results are: we are estimating that in Cuba we would be able to produce 9,920 megawatts per hour every year from renewable sources of energy, particularly solar energy. So we will stop consuming 2.3 million tons of fossil fuels every year, and we will stop issuing into the atmosphere approximately 8.5 million tons of CO2 every year. So I would like to repeat something about the photovoltaic energy sources. This program is one of the top priorities of our country. Therefore, the Electrical Union, together with other entities, can now show an important portfolio of projects, particularly lands that can be used for these purposes in these areas. It is possible to install more than 2,000 megawatts of solar energy sources. Most of them have already undergone topographic and soil studies, as well as the interconnection studies to link them to the main grid. So the national project to develop these energy sources do not only include investments for the production of electricity to the main grid. These includes the implementation of other programs, such as the installation of solar pumps, electrical vehicles, and the use of solar and thermal medium and low temperature sources for residential areas and some industrial processes. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to participate in the second renewable sources of energy fair to be held in Havana from December 22nd to 24th next year. We will then reach some agreements to increase the production of solar energy. To address power generation based on sugarcane biomass, we will have now the presentation by Comrade Didier, the president of the Cuba group. The sugar group is administering 57 sugar industries in our country. Of them, we intend to install 112 megawatts in some biopower stations. These are the sugar mills that we have identified for the generation of these power. We intend to make investments in all other sugar industries to increase the capacity that we have in each and every one of them. And we are resorting to other renewable sources of energy, such as solar water pumping, and among them, particularly that. As our minister explained, we have 62 megawatts which have been already installed. There are 4 projects in different stages, and we have another 12 projects for biopower stations available for receiving foreign investments. The strategy followed by the group is particularly aimed at increasing sugarcane production, which is the main raw material and the main sources of bagasse, which is the raw material that we use to generate power. We intend to update or modernize sugar industries to maximize power generation and to increase the production of sugarcane derivatives. We have designed different sources of financing. First, we count on our own funds. Second, we can resort to different types of credits. And third, and we would like to emphasize these, which we believe is the main source of financing, is foreign investments. Our sugar group has a portfolio of opportunities, including the rehabilitation and updating of several sugar industries. It is important for all participants to be clear about the fact that our sugar group is open to foreign investments in any modality, and we are ready to exchange and negotiate with all investors. These modalities of foreign investment has several strengths and opportunities we would like to emphasize. First, the ones referred to by the minister. These are strengths the country has in general for foreign investments. We have a very strong legal support. We have the political willingness on the part of the Cuban government to favor foreign investments. There is an important stability in all of our sugar industries in terms of social stability, the labor stability, the sugar production, which is inherent to our group. The technical capability and the human capital are key to the process. And we have an industrial infrastructure that is available, that exists, and will also be available and open to all investment processes. These foreign investment processes to modernize our sugar industries has several strengths of its own, looking for greater efficiency. They produce their own sugar cane, they forestry biomass. They are environmentally friendly. Investments are made gradually from the sugarcane agriculture to the sugar industry. We must say that our group has more than 900,000 hectares destined to the production of sugarcane. This is an important strength. I mean, to count on the extension of land necessary to carry out all of these projects. The investments will last for approximately 7 years and is recovered in approximately 10 years, depending on the studies of each and every place. But according to our assessments, these are the benefits. These are the times in which investments are returned. We must say that dividends are obtained as from the first year, and the return rate is above 20%. These are the main features of the work in our sugar group, which we believe are indispensable and very attractive to develop the generation of energy using renewable sources. Thank you very much, Didier. We now give the floor to Comrade Gustavo Carbonell Martinez, head of the Energy Division of the Agroforestry Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, who will speak about renewable sources in agroforestry. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this second Business Forum Cuba 2021. As was expressed by the Minister of Energy and Mining, the agroforestry group under the Ministry of Agriculture is made up by 50 companies. 40 of them are enterprises devoted to forestry. We take part in the designing of the use and planning of renewable sources of energy together with the group as Cuba. We participate jointly in the harvesting of energy forests together with the participation of other companies. There are 3 projects aimed at the installation of biopower stations in sawmills in the provinces of Pinar del Río, Camagüey, and Las Tunas for a total of 62 megawatts, which will be increased to the figures referred to by the minister with the introduction of the biopower station of Cuba, producing 612 megawatts. Another line of development using renewable sources based on forestry biomass speaks very highly about the potential that we have found in carpentries and sawmills. We use the gasification technology based on the experience of a technology that was installed in Cuba, coming from India in the year 2011 in one of the sawmills in the province of Santiago de Cuba. So in the development program, we have considered the possibility of installing these in another 9 sawmills with a great forestry industrial biomass. So a total capacity of around 500 kilowatts could be achieved throughout the year. These would be very significant to ensure self-supply of power and also to contribute to the main grid, as was expressed by the Vice President of Cuba. We have the same conditions in terms of sources of financing. We count on our own funds, and we also invite joint ventures and companies with 100% foreign financing. Thank you, Gustavo. We now give the floor to Comrade Jose Antonio Vira, General Manager of the joint venture Minera del Caribe and Ferronickel SA, with which our ministry has very important businesses and projects. Some of them are in operation and others are in undergoing the implementation stage. They have been hooking up their production with our own energy production. They also have their own projects for fully sustainable industries using renewable sources. Thank you very much. Good morning, Minister. I thank the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Foreign Trade for the possibility of participating in this forum and speak about our experience in Cuba and how are we undergoing this transformation of the generation matrix using renewable sources. In the case of the Empresa Minera del Caribe, MINCAP, we devote ourselves, of course, to mining It has been operating for 4 years now. We are looking for alternatives to generate our own energy supplies, and contribute to reduce the greenhouse gases emission. And we also aim at reducing our costs, take into account that energy supply in our processes are very important. As from 2020, we engaged in a campaign to reduce greenhouse gases emissions, so that by the year 2023, we will reduce emissions by 30% in all of the operations of the group in the world. One of the important aspects to contribute to this campaign has been the supply of electricity from renewable sources of energy, non-polluting sources. In the case of Mincar, as I said, we have been operating for more than 4 years now. We have in place a project for the installation of a solar farm in our mining facilities, with a capacity to generate up to 20 megawatts and facilitate the supply to our metallurgic plant, and reduce our dependence from the main grid, and reduce the burden of our demand. On the other hand, we intend to reduce the cost of our energy, of the energy that we require for our processes. We are working another project in Ferronickel Moa. We are going through the stage of the feasibility studies. We are considering the generation of power using renewable sources. In the case of this project, this is superior as compared to the one that we have in place in Emicar. We are speaking about a demand of around 10 to 12 megawatts of power. In the case of Micar and Ferronickel Moa, we are speaking about 60 to 80 megawatts in power. This is our demand. This is what has pushed us to engage in these projects with the support of the ministry. We are developing these projects. We are analyzing a possible combination of solar energy, the installation of solar farms, and wind energy, which is the case of Ferronickel Moa, and reduce the economic impact meant by our demand to get better results in our activities. And finally, which is very important, to contribute to the global campaign to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. Thank you. Minister, we have a connection with the UK. From London, we have Andrew MacDonald. He is the president of Biopower SA, and he will take the floor. He will participate in this session devoted to renewable sources of energy. Go ahead, please. Well, it seems that there are some connection problems, but within seconds we will connect ourselves with London. Let us resume our panel. We have established connection with India to deal with the new renewable sources of energy. I remind all participants that you can access our business forum platform for empresarial.gov.ke you will be able to see all the activities that are being developed here. You can have a look at the virtual fair that we have put on. We announced the new portfolio of foreign investment opportunities with a platform that can be consulted um, to invest in Cuba, and the address is invierteencuba.minsex.gov.cu. Let's see if we can establish our connections, but we will go to one spot. We already have connection with India. We will introduce Mr. Gupta. You have the floor.
ജീപയാ നിന്റെ ഏതാണ് ഒരു പെട്ടെന്നൊരു ലാപ്ടോപ്പ് തരൂട്ടി ബിന്ദു ലാപ്ടോപ്പ് തരുമോ വണ്ടി में am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so can we go to ISA in that case? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
Okay. So let me introduce International Solar Alliance. Yeah. So Subha, next slide. So International Solar Alliance is a treaty-based intergovernmental organization which was launched in COP21 2015. So this is a intergovernmental organization, and this organization is expected to grant observer status in United Nations General Assembly shortly. And this is one unique organization which is focusing on solar energy. And the objective of this organization is to help the member countries to scale up solar applications. Okay, next slide, please. The International Solar Alliance, as of now, there are 101 signatory countries, with 80 countries have been already ratified. And this is in fact open to all 193 UN countries. So as of now, there are 101 countries who are signatories to this International Solar Alliance. Yeah, next slide, please. So let me present the ISA's governance structure. So this ISA is, there is an apex level. We have assembly, and this assembly is, we have a president and a co-president, because India is the president of this ISA assembly, and France is the co-president of ISA governance structure in the ISA assembly. And we have four regions for the entire globally. We have four regions. One is Asia and Pacific region, and there is an Africa region, Latin America and the Caribbean region, and finally Europe and other allied regions. Each region we have two vice presidents. In Asia and Pacific, now the vice presidents at Fiji and Nauru. In African region, we have Mauritius and Niger. In fact, Latin American and the Caribbean region, we have Cuba is one of the vice presidents for the region, and Guyana is the other co-vice president of the region. And so I'm very happy to be with here to present in the event being hosted in Cuba, because Cuba is one of our vice presidents. And finally, Europe, we have United Kingdom and Netherlands. They are the vice president in the European region. ISA is having a governance structure. Below the ISA assembly, we have 5 committees and 1 standing committee. And there are 4 regional committees who oversee the various activities of ISA. And the entire ISA is supported by ISA Secretariat, which is situated in New Delhi, near New Delhi in India. As of now, which I just told, we have 101 countries, which is part of this coalition. And of that, 80 countries have ratified the ISA framework. In fact, the entire membership is open to all 193 countries. Next slide, Subha. So what is ISA's vision and role? So this slide, let me present the overarching ISA's vision as well as ISA's role. So we are trying to meet this objective, that is delivering a cleaner electricity to all by 2030, mobilizing over 1 trillion USD by 2030 for solar investments. And also, we wanted to see the globally the capacity of solar crosses 1,000 gigawatt. ISA has 4 buckets of the facilities being extended to the member countries. The ultimate objective is to achieve SDG 7, which is universal energy access, and also SDG 13, which is combating the climate change. Under that, so we have 4 buckets of our intervention or support to the countries. One as a facilitator, so we are facilitating all the member countries to provide project implementation support by leveraging the vast network of having. The other second bucket of activities is to play the role of enabler, where we are helping the countries to building the capacity and disseminating the knowledge, the latest knowledge of the trends in solar, and also to create policy and policy ecosystem in the member country, create a job-ready and skilled solar sector workforce. So the capacity building is one of the key objective of ISA. ISA also plays the role of an accelerator, where we are trying to identify innovative and scalable solar solutions and programs for member countries. Finally, as an incubator, we would also looking at innovative financing packages to bring down the cost of solar capital, create conducive conditions for credit flow on concessional terms. So this is the overall ISA's vision and the role which we wanted to play for the member countries. Yeah, next slide, please. So currently, ISA has launched 9 programs. Of that, there are 2 thematic programs, which is affordable finance and also the capacity building. So otherwise, there are 7 programs which is listed here. One is solar applications for agricultural use, then affordable finance at scale, scaling solar rooftop for the countries, scaling solar mini grids, e-mobility and storage, solar parks, which I'll be slightly talking on this scaling of solar park, solarizing heating and cooling systems, solar PV battery and waste management, and finally solar for green hydrogen. So these are the 9 programs presently ISA is currently having that to help the member countries. Next slide, please. So let me talk about program number 6, which in the previous slide, which is on the solar park implementation. So this gives an overall framework of how do we support the countries to do scaling of solar. So under this framework, what we are trying to see is to set the solar projects through a build on operate or build on operate transfer model. Uh, by selecting an independent power producers who would sign long-term power purchase agreement with the utilities of the country. So the ISA's intervention will mainly on two important important parameters. One is to find the bankable projects and also to arrange project management services for the country. Under this framework, there is no investment to be made directly by the member country sovereign governments. The main value addition comes from ISA is to leverage the knowledge of global practices and take support of global partners to benefit the member countries. So this is one of the major value addition will come for the countries. As of now, presently we have NTPC Limited who will be presenting after this. Is a 66 gigawatt plus company who has been endorsed by ISA to give the PMC services. So their services would be available if a country wants to engage them who have a past experience. The role of each stakeholders under this framework, we have just listed here. So ISA Secretariat and the project management consultant together will carry out the pre-feasibility studies, the site-specific studies, any changes required in the policies and regulations to enable the implementation through IPP, structuring of projects and solar park, assist in preparation of PP and concession agreements as per the world standards, a bid process for selection of IPP on global tender basis, and finally to oversee the project execution. The member countries needs to offer. One is that they should ensure there is an enabling rule for implementation of project through IPP model. They should be ready to sign long-term PPA with the selected IPP by the utility of the government. Give all permits and clearances, devise a suitable payment security mechanism so that the investment is secured there, and then arrange the land and grid connectivity for these projects, and finally whatever possible fiscal incentive like duty concession, tax holiday, etc., so that will enable to get the economic cost of solar power. Whereas the IPP is he need to arrange the funding, set up and operate and maintain the projects for a long-term 25 years or so, whatever the PPA period. They should be commit to supply the power as per the terms of PPA, meet all technical parameters and standards specified by ISA and PMC, and arrange the funding. Yeah. So next slide, please. As of now, we have almost made the initial assessment reports for 28 countries because we wanted to see the potential of each country as part of our members. As of now, we have completed 28 countries. And of that, there are 10 countries for which we are already, they have shown the interest or they have joined this program and want to develop the projects across Africa and Latin American region. Close to 3 gigawatt, we are already supporting these countries. Of that, there are 900 megawatt. We are supporting Cuba. The initial works are over, and the detail will be brought out by the NTPC as well. Yeah, Subha, next. So finally, under this program, we have been engaged with Cuba. Thanks to Excellency Rosal and the entire team, we have been interacting. We had a recent site visit as well. So here, totally there is a 900 megawatt across all 14 provinces in Cuba. And Cuba has also engaged NTPC as the PMC. So with that, I would hand over the floor to NTPC to have a detailed discussion or the detailing of the Cuba project. So with that, let me close my presentation. Many thanks for listening this presentation. Thank you. Subha. Am I audible, Subha?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes,
Perhaps.
you are. I'm sharing
Yeah.
NTPC PPT now.
Okay, right.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. I am Narendra Mohan, Head of International Business from NTPC. Mr. Ramesh has already explained the process. I'll just take it from there. Yeah. Just to give you a glimpse of NTPC, we are 45 years old company. We are into all kinds of fuel types: coal, gas, hydro, solar, wind, waste to energy. We have 68,000 megawatt of installed capacity, and we'll be 1,30,000 megawatt, 130 gigawatt by 2032. And out of which 60 gigawatt will be solar or renewables. We have in-house expertise in all areas of power plant engineering and 17,000 expert manpower. We are a 15.8 billion revenue in last financial year and 17 billion net worth in March 21. We have extensive experience in renewable energy projects, and this is an Indian map where we have presence in almost whole of India, and we are around 1400 megawatt of renewable energy operational. Apart from that, around 3000 is under construction. Another 4000 megawatt is under developer mode. So around 5400 already commissioned with 3000 under commissioning. And we have started our journey of solar way back in 2010. We are a corporate partner of ISA, as Mr. Ramesh has already shared, and we are executing presently 6 assignments under the aegis of ISA: 285 megawatt for Togo, 500 megawatt for Mali, 100 megawatt Malawi, and most important, 900 megawatt for Cuba, which is spread over 175 locations, 50 megawatt for Niger, and 500 megawatt for Paraguay. And we have a mandate to have 10 gigawatt of bankable solar parks in ISA member countries. Apart from that, we are also executing ISA's solarization initiatives in 47 LDC and SIDS member countries as PMC. So this whole once under program 6, we take over the project as the PMC. The very first activity is the appointment of NTPC as a PMC consultant by the host country, and then we conduct the desktop study, project structure. We undertake the site visit, and we prepare the pre-feasibility report. In the case of Cuba, this activity has already been completed, and around 10 days back our team had gone to Cuba to visit all the sites, and in parallel we prepare all the government support agreements, power purchase agreement, land lease agreements, grid connectivity agreements. So all those documents are prepared and discussed with the host country, and parallelly we prepare another feasibility report based on the studies and the site visit, and we get approval and go ahead from the member country, the host country, for going ahead. After that, tendering is done as per the best practice NTPC follows worldwide. We go for international tendering to select the developer who basically brings in all the financing, brings in the EPC contractor, and once all the documents are signed, he starts implementation, execution on the ground. All through the execution, implementation, NTPC is the consultant, and they assure the proper quality assurance and long-term O&M also, we ensure that it is done on time and in the quality we require. Coming specifically to Cuba 900 megawatt, we have been appointed as NTPC PMC consultant, and this is, as Mr. Ramesh has said, 175 locations across all 15 provinces, totaling 900 megawatt. So we have seen most of the sites, and all sites are very well located, very good approach road, interconnection points are nearby, and generally the land is very flat, and we have a very good solar insolation, which is around 2400 million units per megawatt. And what we are planning is to have a 1.4 DCAC ratio, and there is enough demand, adequate demand for the energy, and all Cuban agencies are well equipped and well experienced to support any international developer who comes for implementation. Few of the commercial consideration, if we go, as discussed in our recent visit to Cuba, it has been 100% offtake guarantee is being given by the offtaker, which will be UNE in this case, for all the electricity generated, and payment will be guaranteed by the Cuban government bank for the currency of the project, and land use rights will be given, tax holiday for 8 years, and tariff we expect to be very competent during the international tendering what we are going to do. And considering the very good technical conditions available for the project. In fact, these are the photographs we had when we visited these sites. And as you can see, all the lands are very level lands and very good and ideal for setting up our solar parks there. So the basic way ahead will be that a request for qualification will be floated, followed by request for proposal. For this 900 megawatt, they'll be doing in 3 blocks of 300 megawatt each, and we'll be selecting the international developer through this process. And developer is supposed to do the financial tie-up and long-term investment, and they need to set up 100% foreign investment company in Cuba. And there will be a developer who will be putting in the equity and arrange the debt from the financiers, so that this 100% foreign capital company is established for setting up these solar parks. Thank you very much. I had this small presentation to share with you, and I would welcome any questions if they have. And just to conclude, I would say that for the developers, it's an excellent opportunity to invest in Cuba for these technically feasible and very attractive projects. Thank you very much. And I invite all the developers to come forward to participate in these tenders. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much to our colleagues from India. We saw the presentation, their presentation. So please allow me to give the floor now to Ms. Andrew from London. And after him, we will come back to the second forum, this business forum from Cuba. So please, Andrew, you have the floor.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you perfectly.
Apologies for the the delay. Good afternoon, everybody from a very cold Great Britain. I work with both Mariel Solar and Biopower SA. Firstly, to talk about Mariel Solar, as the minister mentioned, it's a solar park in the Mariel zone. In 2019, His Royal Highness the Prince Charles inaugurated the beginning of the construction of the solar park, which progressed very well until the COVID pandemic made its effect. But luckily, we had already imported the 800 containers, and with good collaboration with our colleagues in UNE, we all worked together to continue throughout the whole pandemic, and finally the solar park was completed in spring 2021 this year. Thankfully, with the strong sun and radiation, we're actually now generating 3% more electricity than we actually had forecast, which is a pleasant surprise. Because of the tracking system, which is the first tracking system in the Caribbean, we're getting an extra 15% radiation. So today we're 100% producing around 58 megawatt nominal power on a 62 megawatt peak, 3 different sites, and things are going very well indeed. So we're very happy. We're now working with MINEM for the expansion of the project with an extra 50 megawatts, which will combine with 20 megawatt hours of energy storage, which we hope will get into progress next year. So that's Mariel Solar. The biomass plant, Biopower, which is a joint venture with AskCuba, and as the Vice President of AskCuba mentioned, it's part of their very important strategy to increase the generation. It's a joint venture at a sugar mill where we are burning in the boilers both bagasse, which is a key, very, very well proven fuel, and a woody tree called marabou, which has taken over vast quantities of wasteland throughout Cuba. One of the great advantages of biomass in Cuba is there is lots of it. And as most of you will know, in the biomass sector worldwide, the biggest problem people face is a lack of fuel availability. We suffered somewhat as we went through the commissioning process during COVID because of supplies, because of manufacturers being able to get to site. However, we did manage to have a performance on the plant at a certain point of 62 megawatts, which we loaded onto the grid, proving that the plant works and is efficient. And we are looking forward to reigniting everything and having a full generation year in 22. And so far, the combination of bagasse and marabou is working extremely well. So we are happy, and we are also beginning to look at the next generation of projects using biomass, which is a very good low-hanging fruit, and as we all know, produces base load as opposed to solar, which is only when the sun is shining. So our experience today is very positive. We intend to do more projects. We're working very well with MINEM and UNI. I think everybody's done a terrific job managing to get these plants finished during the COVID times. So I think there's a big tick in the box for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. And thank you also to Mr. Rimech and Mr. Gupta. Thank you very much for participating today in the second Cuban Business Forum. It was a pleasure. So now we say goodbye to you and to the colleagues from the present in the Vice Conference, and we come back to the second Cuban Business Forum. For that, we go to a short break and we come back again in two minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Many thanks.
Now we are back after establishing a connection with India. Now, Minister, there are some questions about renewable sources of energy. The first question that we have received has to do with the construction of photovoltaic farms. Is there any capacity to buy all the energy that will be generated? Yes, there would be all the capacity to buy all the energy generated by all companies willing to participate in this project. Most of the schemes for the connection to the main grid are in place. Well, precisely, I would like to ask you one question. What is the current status of the main grid for the correct connection of all these photovoltaic farms? Well, the main grid is made up by transmission lines, 220 kilowatts and 130 kilowatts. And the distribution scheme is 13 kilowatts. And the system is fully interconnected. I mean, the main grid is fully interconnected. So at the level of each province and municipality, we have lines in place to distribute energy among all consumers. And all of these solar parks will be connected to these. For each renewable source of energy project, we have schemes of interconnection. And as I explained, we will assimilate all the energy that would be produced by all projects. As I said, this is a priority for the Cuban government. We intend to promote as much as possible renewable sources of energy, and all of these would be assimilated by the main grid. The other question that we received is the following. There are Cuban companies ready to assimilate this. Yes, there are Cuban companies ready to build these solar parks, not only through the electrical union facilities. There are other entities such as the Ministry of Industry with companies which are ready to assemble these technologies. I will add that the Ministry of Construction plays a very important role. They have the equipment and specialized companies to carry out these constructions, and there are also mounting companies, assembling companies under the Ministry of Industry. Thank you very much to you, Minister, for your answers. Thanks to all the panel members who have dealt with renewable sources of energy. We go for a break, but we will resume our broadcast at 2 o'clock to listen to information about the agro-industrial sector in Cuba. We invite you to connect to these